Hello, everybody. Welcome into the official YouTube channel of the Denver Nuggets. I am your host for today, Ron Gutterman, and I am joined here by Katie Winge. And today we are going to be previewing the first round of the NBA playoffs, your Denver Nuggets versus the Golden State Warriors. Katie, thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, so happy to be here. What up, Nuggets Nation? Let's talk some playoff basketball.
Yeah, let's do it. We got an exciting first round series up ahead. It's Nikola Jokic and the Nuggets against Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, those championship Warriors that, we haven't heard from in a few years, but they are back, and they're back with a vengeance. So, yeah, it's going to be a really exciting time. First, let's just get some initial thoughts. What do you think about how this series is going to go down, and just sort of your initial thoughts when you saw this matchup?
Yeah, super excited. I think the Warriors are obviously a little bit more intimidating than they've been in years past because they likely will be healthy, at least at some point throughout this series, where you'll see the big three of Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, and Draymond Green. Nuggets have done pretty well against them this season, but they haven't faced a healthy Warriors team so far this season. So I know we'll get into that a little bit later on, but they play very similar styles of basketball. And both teams are top in assists. They share the ball really well. The Warriors obviously shoot a ton of threes. The Denver Nuggets defense against the three-point line has been pretty good so far this season. The Warriors are a very challenging task in that regard, but when I first saw this matchup, I was just really excited. Let's get to it. If you want to be the best, you got to beat the best. And so the Denver Nuggets, it'll be tough, but I think they're going to go to battle. Yeah,
I mean, there was a lot of uncertainty in the final days of the regular season as to, where the Nuggets were going to end up in the standings, who they might be playing. And the Warriors were always a team that felt like one of the primary, teams that the Nuggets are going to be playing. And
potential.
We started planning for that a little bit. What is that going to look like? And yeah, we can get into it. The regular season series, the Nuggets won 3-1. Now, there's a little bit of an issue with that. Draymond Green did not play in any of the 4 games. Aaron Gordon missed some time. Will Barton missed 2 of the 4 games. There was just people missing left and right in this series. So, we can break down these games a little bit. Again, Nuggets went 3-1. One of those was the Monty Morris game winner. One of probably one of the highlights of the regular season for the Nuggets.
Sure.
So I guess. When you're watching those first 4 games, even though there's no Draymond, is there anything that you're seeing when you watch these games that makes you think, okay, the Nuggets really have something that they can attack here in this first round series?
Well, I think the biggest takeaway for me is that the Nuggets were able to win at Golden State. Regardless of what that team looked like, having that experience under your belt, it'll be a very different environment playing in the playoffs in the Chase Center, but the Nuggets know they can win there. And they felt what it feels like to win there. And they've been, one of the best road teams in the entire NBA this season. They have found ways to focus in and be disciplined and execute game plans on the road. So I actually really like the fact that they, even though it wasn't against a full slate of Warriors, that they were able to win in Golden State. Because just having that little bit of confidence of we've done this before, we know what it feels like to do it, I think that will be super helpful in this playoff series.
Yeah, winning at the Chase Center and, back in the day at Oracle Arena, that's no easy task. Warriors fans, they show out all the time. And, the Nuggets, if there was any team in the NBA you think might be equipped to go into Chase Center and win some games and steal some here and there, it would be the Nuggets, because they have been one of the best teams on the road, 25 road wins this season. It's really been incredible stuff. So I would like to get into some of the individual matchups that we're going to be looking at. The most important one, I think the one that everyone's going to be focusing on, is Nikola Jokic versus Draymond Green. We did not see it once. Again, Draymond Green missed all 4 games, which is crazy. That's not normal, but this is something that they have to game plan for that they didn't see once this year. So the Jokic-Draymond matchup, it's 2 extremely high IQ players, probably 2 of the smartest players in the NBA. Yeah. So when you're talking about Nikola Jokic going up against, a Defensive Player of the Year frontrunner pretty much any year he's playing, what does that look like on the offensive end? We can start first with offense, and then we'll get to, switching on the other end.
Yeah, I think, Draymond has held Nikola Jokic well under his averages throughout the entire time that they've played against each other. And so the IQ battle that you're mentioning, that absolutely is in play here, where it's who can outsmart the other person. And Draymond is such a student of the game, and that you bet that he is watching game film on Nikola Jokic on repeat. Yeah. What are his tendencies? What does he like to do? And as Nuggets fans, we of course think Nikola Jokic is so unpredictable, and that's what makes him so great. Well, Draymond Green is going to try and predict what Nikola Jokic is going to do, and he's done a pretty good job of that in the times that they've played each other in seasons past. So they'll send double teams, I think, periodically. We'll see a little bit of that. We will see just some one-on-one coverage where Draymond just plays him straight up and makes Nikola Jokic go to work on him. For me, it's much more about what do the Nuggets around Nikola Jokic do? Because that battle is going to be really tough. You pretty much know what you're going to get with the Joker every single night. No matter who's guarding him, he's going to show up on a consistent basis and is going to produce at a very high level. But how are people going to knock down shots around him? How are you going to take advantage of those double teams? How are you going to help him create some mismatches where Draymond isn't on him? So the Nuggets, that battle is what I'm so excited to see. Coach Malone, even talking about the Warriors and facing Draymond Green for the first time, said, Steph's great, Klay's great, but this team runs the way that Draymond Green runs. Like, he is the catalyst for this Warrior team in terms of toughness, in terms of energy, in terms of effort. So the Nuggets will see a different Warriors team with Draymond on the floor, but that matchup, Jokic and Green, I mean, that's chef's kiss playoff basketball.
We know what Nikola Jokic brings. We know what he does, especially if he's double teamed. It's why a lot of teams are hesitant to double team him sometimes, because he's just able to break your defense down if you make that mistake on him. So it's going to be an incredible matchup to watch. Another interesting matchup is the backcourts. Obviously, the Warriors have one of the most accomplished backcourts in NBA history in Steph and Klay. They're both having down years. Klay is coming back from injury. He's only played 30-something games this season. He's shooting career lows across the board, but he's still getting into it. Steph also shooting career lows across the board. So what do you think the Nuggets backcourt of Monty Morris and Will Barton, what do they have to do to sort of keep Steph and Klay? You can't shut them down, but sort of keep them at bay and keep them to their season averages, which have been lower than their career historic, amazing averages.
With Steph and with Klay, both of them, Coach Malone talked about this again today at practice. Get them to do something that they're not used to doing. Get them off the three-point line. Make sure that you are attached to them on the hip. Klay Thompson is one of the toughest players in the NBA to guard because he is constantly moving. You cannot be a lazy defender if you're defending Klay Thompson. You have to be glued to his hip. You have to be coming off a million screens, head on a swivel all the time, seeing ball, seeing man. So with that in mind, make them do something other than get an open three. Make them make a move. Make them make a counter move to that move. So it's not so much shutting them down, like you said. It's much more, hey, how can I make their life really difficult, and how can I challenge them and make them do something that they're not comfortable doing? Yeah,
and Coach Malone also talked about it. The starting backcourt, Will Barton, Monty Morris, they are going to be pivotal in sort of slowing them down to begin the series. But Coach Malone also talked about Austin Rivers as a guy who was really impactful against that backcourt in two of the games this season in particular. What role does Austin Rivers play in sort of helping to slow down Steph and Klay? Is it more of the same, just running them off of their spots, or does he have a little extra something that he can bring to a Steph or Klay matchup that sort of isolates them and makes it a little harder for them to get to their spots?
I think what Austin Rivers brings to the table in this situation is what Monte Morris and Will Barton have to be doing and have to be giving offensively for the Denver Nuggets, what they have to be doing and focusing on and getting Nikola Jokic the ball and playing that two-man game. Austin Rivers doesn't have to do that as much. Like, he can go in and just say, my one job for this series and for the Nuggets is to make the lives of Steph Curry and Klay Thompson as difficult as humanly possible. And so to just have that one task to focus on, I think is very helpful. He's going to come in and maybe we'll knock down a couple threes. That's an added bonus. But if he can come in and say, I am going to be a lockdown physical defender, I'm going to use my fouls accordingly, I'm going to make sure that I'm making their lives just so tough, he's going to do his job. And I think that's what Coach Malone sees in Rivers, and what he's seen from him all season long is like, go in, be a pest, make sure that you're all over them. Whatever we get from you on offense is an added bonus, but make your name known defensively.
Yeah, and Austin Rivers, he's a vet in this league. He has been around. He's been in the playoffs a number of times. He is a guy where you can trust him. You can trust him to make these sort of big defensive stops when you need them. So he is going to be an X factor in this series. Another X factor, two of them sort of off the bench. We can start with the Nuggets side of it. Bones Highland. This is his first playoffs. He is in his rookie year. Obviously, it's incredible what he's done, sort of being a quality impact player in his rookie year on a playoff team. It's not very often that a late first round pick has that type of impact on his team year one. So what does he bring to the series? And then we'll sort of juxtapose that with what are we going to do with Jordan Poole off the bench for the Warriors? And he will probably be in that closing five, their new lineup of death. He's going to be a part of that. Yeah. So Jordan Poole, Bones Hyland, they're pretty similar players in what they're able to bring to the court. So what do you see the two of them bringing to this series and probably in matchups against one another?
What I've seen from him makes me very excited about playoff Bones. He
Definitely
loves a big stage.
Yeah.
He loves shushing a crowd and hyping up a crowd if the game is in Denver. He feeds off of that energy so well. I think he's gotten so much better about how the game ebbs and flows for him, just kind of being solid in terms of, I'm not going to get too low on my lows. I might get a little higher on my highs, but I'm not going to let a couple missed shots stop me from shooting, stop me from playmaking, stop me from defending. So if Bones can kind of come in with that Bones attitude that he has, that confidence, and produce at the level that we're not asking him to do anything crazy, right? Come in and do what you've been doing all season long. He will be a huge lift for the Denver Nuggets and will be a huge contributor off the bench, which you're going to need because of who Jordan Poole is for the Warriors and the way that he comes in and knocks down shots. Coach Malone specifically mentioned how great he's been playing for the Warriors. And add another great scorer to their already fantastic scoring lineup. And that's just a guy you need to make sure that as soon as he comes into the game, you know what your game plan is against him. You can't leave him open. You have to treat him like a Steph or a Clay and make sure that you make his life very difficult and run him off the three-point line. And the Nuggets just, again, have to be disciplined. That was one of my favorite things that Coach Malone said today was the more disciplined team is probably going to win this series. The team that comes in and pays attention to the details and is able to execute that is likely going to be the team that comes out on top. So Denver's got to do that.
Yeah, that's what playoff basketball is all about, right? It's being focused on the details. You have one opponent to prep for 4 to 7 games. This is what it's all about. You have to be ready for that opponent. If you're a Nuggets fan, you have to be excited about what Bones Hyland is going to bring to this series and what he's going to do against Jordan Poole specifically, because the two of them are they're going to go back and forth a lot this series. They're both lively personalities. They shoot the three well. This is just what they bring to their individual teams. So overall, this is going to be a really exciting series. So if you could just give me final thoughts, what do you think this series is going to look like?
Well, the Nuggets have to defend the three-point line. I know that's so obvious, but it still needs to be said because that's how much focus needs to be put on it. If the Nuggets can steal one in Golden State, I love their odds. I love them coming back to Denver and taking care of business. Like you mentioned, they've been so good on the road, a record-breaking season on the road with 25 road wins. So the Chase Center is probably one of the most difficult places to play in the entire NBA. It's even elevated more in playoff time. So the Nuggets, they need to be playing their best basketball. And regardless of, and we talked a little bit about Jamal Murray hasn't been completely ruled out. It's trending like he's going to be doubtful in this series. But you have to make the best with what you have. And you can't think about what potentially could happen. You have to come in and execute the game plan to the highest level that you possibly can. So Denver's got to bring their own energy, and they have to be disciplined. I feel like I keep saying that, but that's where it's going to come down to.
Yeah, and the Nuggets, even without Jamal Murray and without Michael Porter Jr., who we don't know what their status is going to be for this series, even still, they were a couple bounces away from being a 50-win team. So this is a team that is more than capable of giving the Warriors some serious trouble and potentially moving on to the second round for the 4th consecutive year. They're I believe, one of 2 teams in the NBA to get past the first round in 3 consecutive years. So we're looking to keep that streak going against the Warriors. Yeah,
and not to mention this Nuggets squad, they love being overlooked.
Absolutely.
They love it when they're the underdog. They love giving themselves permission to play free in that way. And what better scenario to do that than against the Golden State Warriors?
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. Loved hearing the analysis. And let's go Nuggets.